Ah, there we go. Well, Merry Christmas to you too,
You
Mrs.
filthy animal.
AI. Hey, you frigging jackasses, shut up. I'm doing something in here.
Get off my lawn.
Kids. Shut up or you won't have anything under the tree. All right.
And what you don't know is that Oz is actually talking to himself right now.
Yeah.
What are we drinking?
We are drinking Hank's vanilla cream soda. This is not sponsored by Hank's, but Hank's, maybe you should because it's really good.
You should. Well, I was gonna say if I was thought maybe you were drinking, but I gotta say I'm enjoying Kentucky's. Can you see it? Kentucky's soft drink. You ever
Ale
tried
8.
that? Ale 8, yeah. It's actually pronounced a late one is how you're supposed to pronounce it, but
Late.
I
Okay.
always say ale 8. But anyway, well, glad to see you guys. Glad to be back and doing another episode. I thought the Thanksgiving episode was pretty fun. It was oh my gosh.
Guess who called the sequel? This chick.
Yes, what we don't need at all.
No, we don't. I don't think we do at all. Tucker.
Guess who called the cash grab?
Oh, come here.
Because Eli Roth can't direct anything else. Just saying.
Hey, now you better be nice. He's going to be at Horror Hound in March.
I know. It's going to be great. I'm going to still go up and sign and take a picture with him.
Yeah, I can't believe what he's going to charge.
How much?
I was talking to David when I was at GalaxyCon, and they're trying to talk him into staying at 80, but they're saying he's probably going to be 100.
Yeah, it's not a surprise whatsoever. I just about the autograph. It'll be great to see him there, but that's a little exorbitant.
Yeah,
That does not surprise me at all. I mean, considering the last one, how much people were charging and stuff, where it's like, that's a little much. That's a little much. But good for you. Good for you. All right. Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, that's tough, man. I got to think about that one. I don't know. I got plenty of stuff I'd like to have him sign, but I mean, I don't know. What do you think? What would you have him sign, Jay? Something Thanksgiving since it's new, or would
No, I'd have him.
Green Mile
Correct me if I'm
or
wrong,
Green
because
Inferno?
well, I'd say correct me if I'm wrong about him shooting on film. I believe he shot on film before, so I'd have him sign the film canister.
Oh
I have a
yeah,
whole collection of them. Everyone from Dante to Romero to Henenlotter. I mean, across the board, I have a whole bunch of them. So Larry
that's
Fessenden,
that's actually pretty cool that because you could like put those like all on a wall and like
Yep.
it's like they're all gonna match, so it's not gonna be like anything that's gonna clash. That's actually a really clever. Did you just come across somebody that just had a bunch of them and was need to get rid of them, or how did you do that?
My an uncle of mine, when he passed away, he left a whole bunch of them. I've been always interested in film, as many know. So
Yeah.
instead of just having them sit there, or I don't really watch 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter films. There was a lot of film casters, so I took one, and one of the first ones I got was George A. Romero, and I had that signed by him, and it was so cool. And pretty much everyone who I meet that's shot on film, I have them sign. So,
Very
it's
cool.
usually filmmakers from, pretty much early 90s down that have made horror. And so I have a wealth of them, and I love them. And actually they're kind of put away right now because I Susan and I are in the process of moving and taking that next step. So when we finally settle, it'll go back up like I've had it before. So a nice display stand with them on there, and it's a really cool and unique thing because one of the things we don't really talk about here in the program is are collectibles. I know,
Right.
Oz, we've talked about it
Yeah,
before.
I think we need to do an episode like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very cool to get pictures and stuff, but how many pictures do you need?
Mhm.
And pictures are cool with the interaction, but I've always been someone who's like unique sort of memorabilia, and the film canisters. I'll give you another example because the New York City Horror Film Festival just happened again this past weekend, and congratulations on another year to the whole entire crew that runs that. Ronnie, Sean, Chris, everyone involved with that that have been really taking Michael Hines' vision of a horror film festival for many years, many incarnations. I met Tony Todd in 2018, I think it was. There couldn't be a nicer guy, and
Mhm.
he signed a bottle of sake because of Sushi Girl. And no one, he
Oh,
had never signed a bottle of sake. I had the Scream Jiffy Pup, the Jiffy
yeah,
Pup thing,
yeah,
and
I
I
remember
got,
that.
even before I had the cast of Scream sign it at Horror Hound, I had Roger Jackson sign it a couple of years earlier, and he had never
Oh,
Very
that's
signed
cool.
anything
cool.
like that. So it was very cool to be able to do that. So to have the film canisters, it's a nice keepsake. It's different. Larry Cohen, before he died, I had him sign one, which was awesome. So it's a very cool thing. It's very unique.
Yeah, it is. And I, when I started going to conventions, I first started doing the pictures, the posters, and blah blah blah. And then just after a while, I was like, how many posters am I going to be able to do?
Right.
So that's kind of where, like, when my that artist friend of mine, Wayne Savage, give him a little plug. Set with Savage by Design. Uh, he sent me, the Camp Crystal Lake sign, and
Right.
I had it for a long time, and never even thought about having anybody sign it or anything. It was just decorative, and so then I talked him into making, because he makes those custom, making the Haddonfield, the Smith Grove Sanitarium one for H40 when I was going out for that. I was like, dude, you got to make me something, and that turned out so good. I just started having, the people sign Camp Crystal Lake, and it's unique, but then it also makes for a really great like prop, like when you get your picture with them, you hold and sign.
Right.
So then we went with the Jaws, and then the slaughtered lamb, and I mean, I just that's kind of like become my thing. Whenever I can get something like that unique.
Actually, I'm going to throw a little plug out there because I don't know if the GoFundMe is going on still,
Mhm.
but Hannah Judd and or Zoe Judd, that family, the Judd family, is going through a lot of stuff right now. And the reason why I bring it up is not only because they're an amazing group, and they're dealing with cancer, they're dealing with several ailments that are just crushing. They recently had a great fundraiser to raise money to cover costs. And one of the things that I put up was an autographed knife by Tony Moran. And it was one I got at a immersive horror overnight sleepover. And he
Mhm.
signed it, and I was happy to donate it. Because one of the things you look at is you get further into it, horror fans will keep things forever. You can be in the smallest of movies and it matters the most to them. And, that has matter and significance. But in this case, someone needs it more and what it can raise. So it's something you definitely, it's also serves a purpose. In this case, it hopefully will help someone and, get someone
Right.
through a really hard time. And I'm glad to do that. And I hope Zoe and Hannah and Chloe and everyone is doing well when it comes to their trouble right now, especially during the holidays.
Yeah, I also I showed up. I went to that fundraiser also and stopped by, and I donated a from my own personal collection. It was my affection for Jaws. It was the Jaws lunchbox with the matching thermos, and I actually went and had Richard Dreyfuss sign it, uh,
Nice.
and authenticate it for just trying to help, get it bring in as much as it could to help them out. So um,
Amen.
and I think it went for. I mean, I'm not sure what it went for, but not what I was hoping it would go for, but I think it went for more than I was just hoping that it would at least bring in and help them more so than I was hoping it was going to be one of the high items. I think it may have been. I don't know, but it was a nice little turnout. They had some karaoke. David was singing some karaoke. Believe it or not, Janelle actually sang a couple of songs. I was surprised. Blake got up there and made our ears bleed a little bit, but so that was kind of tough to get through that. But and he sang Carrie Underwood before he cheats. Why my son would want to sing that song, I do not know, but
wow,
he called it singing. I'm not sure I agree, but
he called it Hellraiser.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's get started. Welcome back to Postmortem Radio. I'm your host, Oz, joined, as always, by the very festive blonde in front, Katie. How we doing tonight?
Very well, very well. Looking forward to talk about some slang during this poor holiday season.
Looking like a mashup between Frosty and Rudolph there a little bit.
There you go.
And the glasses go perfect with us. And I got to apologize. Got to make sure I give Jay a little extra attention this time because I totally introduced Katie last episode and just started talking about the movie and completely forgot about Jay. Sorry about that, Jay.
That's okay.
We
The
love
Grinch
you
is here, folks. The Grinch is here. I love you. I should say we love you and my multiple personalities. We all love you. You know, it is great to be here again. Far too long since the last one, and you know it's going to be a wonderfully brutal, I have a feeling, episode of for this film that we're going to talk about. So it'll be interesting to say the least. So.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff from us here. All 14 of you guys that actually watched the episodes. We appreciate you.
Hi, Mom. Yeah.
My mom's probably 5 of them, and guys. But no, appreciate it. Appreciate you guys that do watch, and we would like to feel free to throw your comments in and give us some feedback. We'd love to do that and maybe read your comments on the show sometime. So first of all, I want to apologize if I look a little grainy or a little like I don't look as clear as I usually do. I'm in the process of moving and using my laptop, but not the typical audio video equipment that I usually use. So please bear with me for this episode, and we'll get back to normal for the next one. But since it's December, since it's almost Christmas, there's been all kinds of holiday horror movies that are out in the theaters and streaming, all kinds of stuff. So we wanted to talk about that, and I guess tonight's episode we're going to focus primarily on "It's a Wonderful Knife." We all got to see that, and I don't know. I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. I sat and watched it Saturday night here in the man cave on the new TV, and I think it was on Amazon Prime. I think it was, and was pleasantly surprised with a few things that I'll touch on here a little bit. But I think, as we normally do, we'll let Katie kick it off and describe, give our little description.
I like describe. Someone's giving us subliminal slip right there. Go for it, Katie.
And then we'll tear that package open.
I will rip open the present. I will let you guys, though, talk about the angel of It's Wonderful Life and all that stuff. And then I will bring about the humbug Grinch of it. How about that? But to start it off, It's a Wonderful Knife, directed by Tyler McIntyre, that you may know from Tragedy Girls, one of my favorites. Written by Michael Kennedy, starring Justin Long, Joel McHale, and sorry, I'm getting her name up. Jane Widdop. Jane Widdop plays Winnie Carruthers. And just to sum it up, after a Winnie saves her town from this psychotic killer. 3 people die, 2 that she's very close with, and then she ends up killing the killer. A year later, life is not how you would predict it. In fact, I feel like her life is almost worse after all of this happens, which is very odd. So she makes a wish that she wishes she had never been born. Unfortunately, that wish happens, and what she thought was a horrible life turns out to be much, much exponentially worse. Now, as the punny title refers to, it is a little love and horror nod to Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life, where Jimmy Stewart plays a man who you see his life unfold from childhood to adulthood. He's going to commit suicide. An angel comes down and shows him what his life would be like if he had never been born and he never lived. Yeah, that's a much better movie. I do want to say that I loved the performance by Catherine Isabel as Aunt Gail. I thought she was the most well-written, well-rounded, best performance in the film. I thought she was also honestly the most realistic in her reactions and everything that she said. I did think that Jane Woodruff did a really good job. And yeah, there's a number of things before she makes that wish where it is a bunch of horse shit and a little, I don't want to say a little insulting, but just really, there's just some ways to deal with death that I don't understand in 2023, where these horror movies are just doing such a horrific job at showing it. This one in particular, because I think it's just really insulting in a number of ways. But she, is mourning people that she lost that happened, that died in the, when that she couldn't save. And yeah, I just feel like it's just weird. I feel like it's weirdly written. I feel like Justin Long's character as Henry Waters is just a bad impersonation of Walton Goggins, which I actually talked to the director at Telluride Horror Show where I saw the film. And immediately when I heard his voice, when I saw his look with the overtan and the very prominent veneers, I went up to him. I went up to Tyler McIntyre and asked, like, so could you not afford Walter Goggins? Like, what was the deal with that? And he looked at me and laughed. He's like, I would love to work with Walter Goggins. That was Justin's choice with everything that was made regarding this character. And I'm like, okay, then was he trying to like do a dig at Walter Goggins? Because I mean, it very much, that's all I could think of every single time I looked at him, is like he looked like little Bobby Billy from Righteous Gemstones. I think the kills were pretty great. The look of the killer was neat. I also liked it in Moon Knight, the Disney thing. I thought that was kind of, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of flaws for me. I think it's very funny with certain lines. Sean Deppner, who plays Buck Waters, and then he's turned into sheriff. He's got one of my funniest lines in the film. This was a miss for me. Yeah, I know. Call me a Grinch. I'm gonna let you guys.
I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna say that after we were done. I mean,
okay, I'll go into the spoilers later on. So you guys talk about how much you liked it and like how mistletoe it was for you, and then I'll really Grinch it up.
So here we go. Oz, do you mind if I go first?
No, go ahead.
So for everyone who is taking it as a horror movie, don't. It is a holiday movie, folks. First and foremost, that is why things are over the top and so syrupy in this film. When you look at a film like this, especially if you'd watched Tragedy Girls, why it was an acclaimed film, Tragedy Girls was a very, very self-reflective and righteous film. from the two lead characters through the high school environment, all the way through to the kills and the stylized look it was. And Tyler brings us to It's a Wonderful Knife. I myself really enjoyed this film. If you'd watched the Thanksgiving episode, I had said it was a better film than Thanksgiving, and I still stand by that. The reason why I say this is because, there's a number of films you can look at when it comes to It's a Wonderful Knife. Back to the Future, the trilogy, especially when we're dealing with him on the alternate timeline. It's a really big influence from what they were able to do. Robert Zemeckis was able to do with that franchise. At least it looks that way, from the characters to everything else. But it really reflects the aspect of the world we live in with the Lifetime and Hallmark kind of holiday film. If you go on Netflix, you go on Hallmark Channel, you go on Lifetime, this is a horror version, a souped up horror version of what we see on there. So to be campy and bad performances, a very sentimental core is not a surprise whatsoever. After watching it, I didn't sit back and go, oh, yes, this is a straight horror film. It's not a straight horror film, but it is a fun film to watch. If you like camp, it's a fun film to watch. And
very campy.
Very campy. And it's meant to be. I mean, just look at the way the Angel of Death is. Beautiful Angel of Death. If that's not what you feel as Tyler McIntyre as a director and what he's able to do. I mean, look at the masks from Tragedy Girls. Come on. I mean, you have to sit back and not take it so serious when it comes to this, because, if you take it too seriously, of course it's going to fail. Just like if you take Thanksgiving serious, of course you're going to be disappointed, because there is so much when it comes to Thanksgiving that is a miss on it. I mean, talk about a film that really goes ahead and just exploits, no pun intended, because you have in so many layers. This is a campy, polished, glitzy film. And one thing for those who love It's a Wonderful Life, arguably one of the darkest holiday films of all time. If you sit down and watch it as an adult, I mean, sit down and watch it as an adult. It is sad. It is tragic. It is something that, if this was more of a modern film, you wonder what the darker tone would be. You wonder what George Bailey would really be doing. And I think Tyler McIntyre, and my apologies on the writer's name,
Michael Kennedy.
Michael Kennedy, thank you so much, Katie. When they got together to do this, I have no doubt that they took what the base of It's a Wonderful Life and said, let's modernize it and let's amp it up. And to be honest, it's this film, It's a Wonderful Knife, which is on Shudder right now, if I'm correct. It is a wonderful film to watch during the holidays, because in the tradition of holiday horror, most holiday horror, it is camp, it is ridiculous, it is over the top, it has bad performances, and in this case, a really bad character actor in Justin Long, which I've never been a fan of Justin Long when it comes to it. So, Katie, I completely agree. It's a bit much for what he was able to do. I didn't get Walton Goggins at all, but I do think that he was the wrong choice for that. He did fit the really creepy, sleazy guy, but he's played that in several roles before, so that's like a natural for him. So with that being said, it's just a fun film, folks. You want to sit there and watch Santa Slays with Bill Goldberg and then watch this? You got a great double bill for the holidays, so enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I described it to Janelle. Like, we went to see, Silent Night on Friday, and then I watched this one kind of by myself. She didn't really want to watch this one, or she was busy or whatever. And I was down here working. I watched it, and I explained that's how I described it. I was like, it's really campy, it's kind of over the top, but it's got some good humor in it. I really also enjoyed it. There are some things that had me scratching my head, of course, and some things that I was kind of like, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But kind of like what you said, Jay, if you go in, you kind of got to know what you're getting into when you go. If you're going in and taking it too seriously, it's gonna be a mess for you. But if you go in and just let it entertain you, and like, hey, I'm seeing a holiday film that so people are going to get massacred, whatever. just turn your brain off for an hour and a half.
Exactly.
I think you know it's a good holiday horror popcorn movie. Is the way.
Yeah, I think that's good. It's one of those films that not only do you turn your brain off as you're watching it, but you sit back and you appreciate the subgenre of holiday horror, which is something that's really unique when someone puts together. And I think he does a really good job. It's not the best holiday horror film by a long shot, but
No.
it's a good holiday horror film. Katie, I have a question for you actually, because
Yeah.
you're really taking it very serious when it comes to this right now. What were you comparing it to? I mean, what holiday horror, what's your perspective on it that made it so terrible?
I don't compare it to anything. That's the thing. I go in not knowing anything about the film. Immediately when I saw it at a film festival to see Justin Long, see him like specifically, it seemed like he was specifically acting like a completely different character that made me think of like another actor head to toe with his performance, his look, everything. It immediately was very confusing to me. And then if we're going to get to the spoilers, let me know. But then with the alternate universe,
go ahead,
it's
spoil
like
away.
With the alternate universe, the whole thing with the mom like pouring herself out in the house a year after the son died, and the whole like aspect that Joel McHale didn't realize that his boss had killed his son and all that stuff. It just like, look, I'm all for camp and I'm all for that. And that's fine. But it's like some of these things just did not make any sense whatsoever to me. And it's like, there's one thing, I mean, it went from one thing to such an absurd extreme that it's like, look, I'm all for like a fun stuff and doing the holiday and Hallmark, to the extreme, or not to the Hallmark, kind of cheesiness. But there's just so many things about this that I just like. The fact that the parents gave the son a car and then the daughter a jumpsuit, and that the aunt and the aunt's wife were the only ones besides the daughter that was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
well,
seriously?
She doesn't exist, though. She doesn't
no,
exist.
She does, but that's the thing. That happened in the real life.
That's what I'm saying. No, she doesn't exist in their eyes.
Exactly. And she's the one who saved the town. That's what I don't understand. It's like, she should be the savior. She should be the one that they're praising and all that stuff. And it's like that to me, it seemed like, I'm all with the ants and all that stuff. It's like, ladies, let's go get some coffee and like figure out what the hell is wrong with your sister and her husband and all this stuff. And then, yeah, I don't know. I was with Winnie. I didn't get, it's like, seriously, it's a year later. People have died. You guys act like nothing happened. It's like, get over it. And that's just one of the things with 2023. I feel like there's so many examples of deaths in film this year that have just been handled so horribly, especially in horror, that I'm like, oh my God, look, you guys don't have to do like a full like therapy session, but for the love of God, can you at least give people the respect that it's like, and I understand it's a film, I understand that, but it's like, once you do so many things that are so out of the world extreme, then I'm like, all right, I kind of just don't but I mean, look, I thought the kills are great. I like the whole look of the killer, but it also reminded me of Moon Knight, like head to toe, the whole thing, especially the hood, which it's a year later. I mean, it's Moon Knight. That's exactly what Moon Knight's costume
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Go look it up. I just did an
Moon Knight. Did you even read Moon Knight? Come on.
Pull up the Moon Knight on Disney. That's exactly what it looks like.
It's not the Moon Knight on Disney. And I got to give a lot of credit actually to the costume designer, because it was a really unique take on an outfit, on an antagonist, on a slasher. I mean, if you go, I'll just use Thanksgiving as an example. I mean, last episode, you were praising the authenticity of it, the mask, everything of it. Why is this no good? And I mean, if we're looking back at horror, go back to the 1980s. We'll stop there. The death of great. I can barely see it, but great. Okay. Awesome. Okay. It's the aspect of since the 80s, we'll just go back to the 80s, the idea of the victim and shameless and meaningless killing has been something. Are we going to have a memorial for the victims every single year? I mean, are we going to try to understand why in the different decades how society has affected the victim within a horror film? It sounds like an interesting documentary, I won't deny, but you look at this, and again, I reference Back to the Future because when you look at this and alternate timelines, it really does make a lot of sense in the way it goes. Is it a little bit off kilter? Is it a shift the tones really heavily? Absolutely. But again, they're making this film for horror fans, and most horror fans, if you ask them, Oz, you're the most ingrained horror fan on this show and one of the most ingrained horror fans I know. If I tell you a Friday the 13th sequel, I guarantee you're going to be able to pull some stuff out of it. So guess what? Horror fans this is made for horror fans.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if it was made for film critics, to be honest.
No,
I don't know if it was.
I think it was a love note to horror fans, and that's kind of the way I look at it.
Well, no, that's good because I have my opinion on this, and
absolutely
with my things, but I also have talked to many horror fans who just don't understand a number of things, especially at the end with the whole thing. Then the whole town is like sucked in and has their eyes greened over and all that stuff. Then it's just a completely different.
Yeah, I thought that was stupid too. I kind of agree with you on that. And Katie, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of flaws with this film. I think the ending with the hypnotism thing is really stupid. I don't mind the dark town because I like the fact of the extremes that it goes to. I absolutely like the extremes it goes to because it pushes the idea of what happens when one person's life, one event can change everything around you. I think for me, I like that kind of storytelling. Isn't necessarily good storytelling? I don't know if it's good storytelling, but I personally like this. And you know what makes this even better, Katie? And I think you'll agree with this. It's a film that is so divisive and polarizing that people are able to have a conversation about it, whether they like it or they don't. And that's a good horror film because it's actually making people respond instead of just saying, oh, it's another horror film coming out. Like Silent Night. John Woo is a master. This was not a masterpiece. Silent Night was a crappy film. I'm sorry. Let's go watch John Wick. Let's go watch. There is a movie on Netflix called Mother's Day from Poland that was way better than this film.
That is really good. Yes. Mother's Day, that actually is good. And one of the reasons why I did not go see Silent Night is I have not heard anyone necessarily say it's a great film. I don't want to spend.
It's not a great.
I don't want to spend going back and forth, which ends up going to be $50 to see something crappy. And that's me. I know you guys have cars, and it's like $20 for a film here and stuff like that. I don't want to do that.
Hey, I don't blame you whatsoever.
I would not say it was crappy.
It was crappy. I'm sorry. There were some cool kills. That was about the only thing.
It was. I'll agree with you. It was John Wick, but it was so much of a John Wick movie. It really was
John Wick movie, and John Woo was the director of before John Wick was there.
I'm sorry.
I said John Woo was directing films like we see with John Wick, thrillers like that, martial art films like that, long before John Wick, but he just does not fit what the landscape is now based on this film.
John Woo is a master in action films. He's like one of the top people do this. And I've there's been a number of people because I was thinking about going, but then it's no. They just said don't. There's other things you should be watching, and I just been watching screeners for award season and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I talked to a couple of people, that one of my friends that has another horror podcast, and I think they actually commented on my post when we were there to watch it, and he was saying how it does not deserve the hate that it's getting. And Is it a great movie? No, it's not. But I was entertained. I was expecting to go in and see nothing but a revenge, shoot 'em up like John Wick type movie, and I did get that. But there was a little bit more to it than what I expected. And I guess maybe it's just because I'm a fan. And here again, spoilers. I'm a fan when a film doesn't necessarily have a happy ending. That really, that I mean, for instance, The Mist, okay, the movie The Mist. I can't stand that movie. I hate that movie, but I love the ending. I love the ending. And I know people think it's twisted because he turns around, he kills his family, and then comes to find out it was, they were saved and all that. But it's just so different and not what you expect, and that's what I loved so much about it.
Okay, that makes sense with it. I mean, one thing, Katie, I'm gonna jump on one of the things that you said, and I agree. And I think this is the climate that we live in now, where we have to have the meta, you know, we're going to show you, and everyone thing has to be included. There has to be inclusion in every aspect of film. This is one of the things I saw this on Instagram about the fact on how inclusion is killing Disney. The fact that there has to be inclusion and everything has to be a certain way in our society now is hurting horror. And I think that's one of the things that hurts It's a Wonderful Knife. I think that's one of the things that really hurts it, because Tyra McIntyre, I think he's a rising, wonderfully talented horror director. He's also someone who's part of this generation where things all have to fit in there. Everyone has to have a shot. And I got news for you. In horror films, there is the dead and there's the killers. Okay. As we merged, then we moved into the 90s and we moved into 2000s. All of a sudden, it starts the blur. And guess what comes out of the blur? The final girl. Final girl was there before, but she becomes more prevalent now. And now what happens? Guess what? Not only is the final girl there, but all of a sudden the killers are kinder, gentler, and more stylish. And everyone, and this is why I don't like the Scream franchise, all of them are beautifully polished protagonists. They all have relationships, and their relationships with anyone they want to have relationships with. At the core foundation of what horror was, the traditional horror, has been lost. And Katie, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's one of the elements you had trouble with when it came to this film, because when you look at It's a Wonderful Knife, he tries to include everyone and everything in this. Maybe, just maybe, the tonal shift wouldn't be so bad if we didn't have certain characters and certain stories overarching each other. Maybe it wouldn't have been so bad if we didn't go to such an extreme, as you had brought up, with the fact that now we have to have therapy sessions after each one because there's being no credence to the people who are dying. If we had been back with more of the traditional ways of doing this, go back to Silent Night, Deadly Night, you understood what that film was. You understood the killers. You understood how that film ran. And that's where I criticized the film a lot, because I loved it. I think stylish. I love the slasher design. I think I love It's a Wonderful Life's foundation to it. But I have some trouble with that. That's one of my flaws when it comes to this. That's why it's a good holiday horror movie. You want to watch a better one? Watch Better Watch Out. Just saying.
Well, Silent Night, Deadly Night, it's like with that, I mean, you see like how the killer is formed. And I was actually like, I understood that guy. With this is more like you're always looking at the protagonist. But at one point when she sees, and this is one of the things that really annoyed, when she sees Buck Waters after, the year after, and she apologizes to him after she's killed his brother, who is the murderer, who has been killing people, that she apologizes to the brother. Right. Like, why are you apologizing to him?
Because that's the society we live in. That's society we live in now, Katie. You got to apologize to the killer.
Town. It's like, geez, it's like, what is he doing here? It's like, you find out your brother's been killing everybody. It's like, dude, how dare you? It's like, I'm going to get you in the end. It's like, what is this? This is crap. That guy would have been like busted out of town. That's not like Angel Falls, my butt. But I mean, look, again, I thought the kills, I liked the makeup effects. I mean, the slit the throat, pretty good. They had the thing though with the killer's this tall, but then he take off the mask and he's this tall.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's like, give me a break. There's a foot difference there, which again has been something that's been going on 22 to 23. It's like, look, you guys, just at least make the
And you know what? I gotta say something, Katie. Ever since you first said that, now I can't not see it every single time I watch it.
See, it's just
Now,
one of
now I'm
those
like,
things.
okay, wait a minute. Let me see. This is a height.
Well, you know where it came from, right? And it's more than ever now. It's from the Scream franchise because every movie is two different killers. It's like the Sith, man. There's always two of them, man. Is two, and they're different heights and everything. And even in Thanksgiving, one of the things we talked about, I believe, last episode was the fact that one of the times they killed the one where he wrapped him around his neck and he was pulling back. He's like a foot shorter.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
it's crazy. I mean,
Well,
it's just ridiculous now.
to me, that was definitely trying to make the audience think that it was some other
Yeah.
character. I understood that. In Scream 5, though, that was so ridiculous that you've got a 6-foot person and you're trying to tell me that that's supposed to be the 5'2" woman. That it's like, oh yeah, you know, I killed him. It's like,
Empowering.
not. Did you get on like a pogo stick and like do this? Like, girl, it's like, what are you talking about? You couldn't jump on top of him. You have to like take a step stool and do that.
That's what I haven't seen. I haven't seen anybody get killed with a pogo stick.
I like that.
Somebody needs to put that in a film.
Now watch, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Yeah, right. All 13 people that listen to us.
One thing though about this film, it's filmed in like little outside Vancouver, very Hallmarky town. I mean, they definitely wanted this to be Hallmark horror. I feel like they, chef kiss on that. The Hallmark movie that was in there is a film that Tyler McIntyre worked on that is an actual Hallmark film. And yeah, so you have all that stuff. It's not the big city gal who came back to work, who came back to her small town, and she falls in love with the Christmas tree grower who's her company's going to take over their business, and then they fall in love, and oh my gosh, hey, maybe you should use marketing to help save your business. Marketing, I never thought of that, thanks. And then the big city gal's like, you know what, I'm gonna stay here, forget about my love of the city, I'm gonna love it here, thanks Santa, and scene.
Well, one thing I will throw out there, and one of the things I really liked about It's a Wonderful Knife, and this is, Katie, you didn't like this, but I really did, was when we have films like this, we've become so fixated on the final girl and the protagonist, generally a female in our modern landscape of horror, who does these things and they're given credence or they're given hatred. It's one way or another. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't recall seeing it to that extreme where even though she did the right thing, she still hated. And that's for those folks who are not going to small town America, especially out off the coasts and in the non-major cities, there's a lot of neighborhoods that are very much, if something falls out of their little square, their little box, all of a sudden things are bad. And maybe even the fact of saving some lives and stopping a killer, because everything they had around them now is shaken and changed. And I really liked the fact of what they did with this. Yes, the tonal shift is very extreme, very extreme. And this is coming from the writer of Freaky with Vince Vaughn. That's a brilliant slasher film. It really is a brilliant slasher film.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. I really did like that.
But looking at this film, why it's a huge tonal shift, I like the fact that it really, no matter what she did, she could have saved more people. It didn't matter. Their town was changed, and I think it was a nice little speed ramp into where it was. Did it go too much? I think it went too much, because it almost went into like the X-Files territory with the hypnotism of the townspeople, which was a little bit much. But I like what they did with that, because it shows that horror is meant to be bad. Again, I've said it before in here. If you're going to watch a horror film, nothing should go good. It shouldn't be okay. Funny Games is a great example of that. Whether you watch the American version, you watch the foreign version, it's going to be bad from the first moment you watch it. And when you see a guy or a girl, whoever is under the angel's costume with a knife in the poster, something bad's going to happen. And I like what they did. I liked it very much.
Yeah,
I say skip it. There's a lot of other holiday horror that is much, much better. I liked Tyler McIntyre. This doesn't say that I'm off him as a director, because I do think that Tragedy Girls is a much better film. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Jane would have. I do think it has a decent cast. Jess McLeod, who plays Bernie / Weirdo, who that to me was a very odd relationship, considering that
exactly
that to me seemed very forced, which, considering it was this a year after the events happened, when Winnie sees Bernie again, she has to question if that's her name.
That doesn't make any sense.
She has to question if that's her name. That to me, it's like, this is a small town. You probably have 100 people. You've gone to school with this person your entire life. If you have to question if this is this person's name, and then give or take 72 hours, you're in love. I'm like, I mean, it's a movie. It is a movie, but again, thank you, Catherine Isabel, I think, for having the most beloved performance in the film, and Sean Deppner for having some of the funniest lines, because especially when he's the sheriff, it's like, can we get some more caution tape? Because I feel like we should be more cautious here. And can we get the canine unit? Because I feel like that just give us, better vibes. Can we do that? I'm like, that was hilarious. That was really, really funny. But yeah, I kind of say skip it. I will say what you were talking about with the whole, facts showing what can happen when someone's, life is taken away and how it can change everything. Joel McHale had a great monologue regarding that. Yes. And, it's like, he wasn't even talking about her. He was talking about his son. And it's like, how would that make his son feel seeing what has happened to his family and stuff like that? I agree. I think that's horrible, but it's also, that should make you want to do better things and not more ridiculous, stupid things, because Joel McHale seems like a very smart guy. And the fact that he doesn't realize that his best friend boss is also the one who killed his son is, again, spoiler, because we're talking about, just was one of those things. And I'm like, okay, I give up. But I mean, his wife had a boyfriend that she was making out with. And again, it is a year after things go on. I understand people deal with grief in very different ways. This is just a little bit like,
Well, I'll tell you what, don't go see Silent Night either, because you won't hate that. You'll hate that storyline as well, because it's basically a replica of the same storyline. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Guys, right? A guy's child dies. Grief between. Spoiler alert: child dies. There's grief between the two. The husband pushes away, figures out a 9-month plan to go out and kill all these gang members. The woman kind of moves out on her own, finds her own passion, her own thing, and goes out and kills everyone. But it's okay with Silent Night. But in this film, because of how over the top and campy it is, people were crapping on it. So don't go see Silent Night if you don't like this. Oh, wait a minute. That's the theme of Thanksgiving too. Oh no, it's the same thing.
Well, it also sounds like that's themed to Peppermint. Because it's like when you just said with Silent Night, I'm like, didn't they do that with Peppermint a few years back with Jennifer Garner? Because that sounds exactly what happened in Peppermint.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I actually like that movie. I know some people are like, oh, I don't see how she could have learned how to do all those things, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you know what? When you've got a bunch of time on your hands, you can learn a lot of stuff.
Girl power.
Well, especially when you've just got full of anger and nothing else. It's like,
you know what they say about a woman scorned.
That's right.
But one thing I do want to say, kind of piggybacking a little bit off of what you said, Katie, about the humor. There were some other really funny lines in this that weren't from the sheriff.
Yes.
The two and also, I didn't know that. That's one. That's not the first one. There's the one before that I loved. I was surprised. I did not know that Justin Long was in this. I didn't really look into it that much, and I was so pleasantly surprised when I saw that Catherine Isabel was in that. because it had been a while since I'd seen her in anything, and I've been a big fan of hers ever since Ginger Snaps. But and I saw her, and I honestly I agree. I think her performance was probably the best in the movie. And her line at the beginning, when after Christmas, when they open up the presents and she puts on the suit and she's, "Are you kidding me? I get a lesbian pink tracksuit and he gets a truck," and she's back there and she's like, "We wouldn't wear that." I freaking lost it. I was cracking up.
Yeah. The
That
whole
to
thing when
me,
she says,
I mean,
"Hey," it's like we would never wear that.
yeah, I mean, it was so like believable, and I mean, and most people, it's probably a throwaway line that you don't even remember, but I don't know, it stuck with me. I just cracked me up.
Oh yeah, no, I wrote that one down too. Like she's awesome.
Oh yeah, and then like you were talking about, that's the other thing. When they were in that part, I mean, I know it's supposed to be dark and like the neon lights everywhere, but to me, it seemed like whoever was in charge of lighting for that scene dropped the ball, because it was way darker than it was almost to the point where it made it hard to see, at least for me. And I was watching on a brand new TV that there's not, I mean, it's crystal clear.
Sorry, which scene was too dark?
When they're in that party where they're all getting
Oh.
stoned and everything, the same one with this line where she's like, "Stop pursing your lips. Your mouth looks like a butthole."
Your mouth looks like an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does not.
Yeah, she's like, "My mouth doesn't look like a butthole." I just thought that was, I mean, and that's the thing I liked about it was it didn't have too much humor. It had a little sprinkle, just a little dash here and there. It wasn't throughout the entire movie either. It was just very strategically, here's a little like wisecrack line, here's a little, I mean, and they weren't, while the movie was campy, the humor wasn't camp. It was actually, it fit, it was funny, it was, that's what I like the most about it. I mean, and it's funny because I mentioned those two lines that I told Janella, and now she wants to watch the movie. I'm sure you'll say don't watch it, but he already told you the funniest things in the movie.
Yeah.
But
spoiler.
I say check it out.
Lines.
I say check it out. It's worth a watch. And is it going to be one that you're going to want to watch every single year when Christmas time comes around? Probably not. But
most holiday horror you don't want to watch every single year. So
no.
Except for my favorite holiday horror film.
Oh, that's a nice
lead. Get to that. But yeah, I mean, look, watch it for Catherine Isabel. Again, I thought her performance was the best.
Agreed.
Watch it.
Well, I don't agree with skip the movie. I will agree with that she's the best in performance.
Watch it for the pretty white deadly angel that gets blood on it, and the next scene has no blood on it. Just saying.
Right. Yeah. I want to know what they're using, because I could use that on
Blake's continuity, folks. It's called continuity.
Whatever he uses to watch that thing, I can use on Blake's baseball pants, because
it's Tide and a whole hell of a lot of angel costumes.
Exactly. All
right, Katie, you want to kick us off with? We're going to pick out our favorite horror Christmas movie.
All right, so mine is a tried and true. Some people may not say it's a Christmas horror film, but it's set in Christmas. It has creatures. There are many and multiple deaths. It's icky and gross. It's got one of the best monologues of the 80s. And it's directed by one of my favorite directors. It is
Gremlins.
That's right. Gremlins. Yes. Some people try and claim that this is not a Christmas horror film.
Oh, it so is.
It's set in Christmas. The whole point of the film is that Mogwai, Gizmo, is a Christmas gift. If this had not been, if the holiday had not happened, the film would not have happened.
Right.
Spike is great. The performances are great. Phoebe Cates has that ridiculous monologue about her dad coming down the chimney. This came out in 1984. Dude, This is horror. This, I mean, when the teacher gets killed by the guy, the little, he doesn't even have a name, by the little gremlin that he's doing experiments on, and you see him on the desk, underneath the desk, he's got a needle in his butt. I just rewatched this and I was like, holy crap, I was way too young to watch this. God love you, 80s. You really scarred us and prepared us for anything at that young of age. I loved it. I love it still. I mean, it's going to be 40 next year. I watched it like it was yesterday. I mean, it's HD on Max and it looks chef's kiss amazing. The music by Jerry Goldsmith stands the test of time. As soon as you hear that, you know what it is. I mean, the production design, we all know it's the exact same town that Back to the Future was filmed in. I mean, they didn't really try to cover up anything, which who cares? Written by Christopher Columbus, who again went on to do 18 jillion films. One hated film that is very Christmassy that I know everyone loves, Home Alone. Can't stand it. Never have. I know it's never been. That's one of those films like, oh, what's a movie that people love that you hate? I hate Home Alone. I just don't like it. I never have, never will. But
I refuse to watch any of them. I've never seen any of the Home Alone movies.
I love Gremlins. I think Gremlins is amazing. And yeah, again, I honestly, when we're done with this, I'll probably rewatch it again tonight.
Nice.
All right.
All right,
Jay.
Okay, so I want to give just a few nods out before I tell you about mine, because there's some films. One of the ones I first throw out there is Santa's Sleigh with Bill Goldberg. If you have not watched that, that is one of the most underrated holiday horror films. However, Red Christmas, Craig Anderson.
Oh,
Red Christmas.
I was
If you want something that is so effed up, something that will out of Australia, he's a comedian. He did this. Dee Wallace is in it. I'm not going to tell you anything about it going into it. Watch Red Christmas. It will mess with you, and it is so beautifully done. God bless him for the work he did on that film and everyone involved. Better Watch Out, Safe Neighborhood, Chris Peckover. God Love, same year it came out as Red Christmas 2016. It is one of the smartest, fun, just horror romps you're going to have in the modern horror era. But I got to go back. It celebrates, I believe, 35 years. It is absolutely wonderful. It is, if it's not my favorite film, it's in the top 3. It is Scrooged. Bill Murray, Richard Donner film. It by far has every emotional key you could want, but it is at the core of it a horror film. It is a film for, if you haven't seen it, I don't know where you've been, but it is one of the best films. Bill Murray's performance is phenomenal. The concept of Scrooge is taken to another level. It takes place in New York City. He's a TV exec. You've got everything from the classic Scrooge story, but the horror elements are a little more heightened. You have Buster Poindexter in there playing one of the great ghosts.
Niagara Falls.
Frankie Darling.
Niagara Falls. Frankie
and you got one of the greatest lines with Carol Kane. Touch me again. I'm going to rip your goddamn wings off. It is one of the great, but it is at the core of it a horror film. And it is one of my all-time favorites. The end always gets me. I always cry at the end of it for how wonderful it is, but it is scary in certain elements. And it is just a wonderful film. That is my recommendation.
Wait, I didn't know we were doing a whole bunch of them. I thought we were only doing one.
I pulled those out because there's some that really, there's so many of them. But like Red Christmas gets no love whatsoever. And it deserves love.
I love the fact that you said that, because honestly, if I hadn't watched Gremlins yesterday, I was going to say Red Christmas, because it's just an underrated. Yeah. I mean, it is messed up, like the whole backstory and the whole thing of that. And Dee Wallace is great. If we're doing that, Krampus, I actually really like Krampus. I love the message of Krampus, and the fact that I feel like Krampus has the most it has the biggest intent of what the real meaning of Christmas is and how much it has been lost through commercialism and capitalism and, everyone just wanting gifts and not spending time with the family. And I think it just has a really great message about like, look, let's just focus on the fact that we're together. And that is very fleeting in a number of ways. So take advantage of that. It's precious time and stuff like that. And I will always love Black Christmas because unlike Black Christmas from 2012, I like the fact that with Black Christmas, again, this is horror like in the 70s. You don't know why the antagonist is doing what he's doing. It's just a monster. And that's one of the things like with Halloween, with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, with a number of the films, like that's what always made them the scariest. Like we don't have their backstory. We don't have, the psychoanalysis of this is what made them and here's profiling this and that. It's like, this is just a person who got on the phone, started saying all the stuff these girls in the sorority house, and then killed them one by one. Not to mention the fact that it has one of my favorite performances from Margot Kidder that I think is very underrated. And she may have been my unconscious, the way she wears that choker and everything. I love it. I love how she talks about her sorority and FELATIO, the name of her sorority. Wink, it's not. But yeah, if we're doing the series, like those are some that I actually like. And if you want to get really brutal, yeah, Silent Night, Deadly Night, that's a messed up. I mean, that kid, no wonder he's messed up. And then to go to an orphanage with nuns who treat him like that. Poor kid. Well, so Oz, what are yours?
Well, you stole my thunder. You stole
my. So why do you love it?
Number 1 and number 2.
Go ahead. So why are they number 1 and 2? What didn't take anything from you?
I'll tell you. Well, the thing I love about Black Christmas, I think, again, is good. So much can impact me with the ending of a movie, and I love that open-ended ending with the phone ringing. You don't know if he's up there. You don't know what. You don't know. Okay, is he killing her right now or what? I mean, and that panning back as you're hearing the phone. It just that to me, I thought that was just a perfect ending to that movie. I'm probably going to piss Katie off here right now because she sounds like she's a Margot Kidder fan. One of the other things that I really love about it is that Margot Kidder gets killed early on and is not in the rest of the movie because I cannot stand Margot Kidder in anything. Superman, Amityville Horror, whatever. I cannot stand Margot Kidder. I don't know if it's her voice or what. I just cannot stand her. And I'm so glad that she got the unicorn's horn and got stabbed with it in Black Christmas. I know that's harsh, but
can I just add one thing, Oz, before you go to your number 2? Give love to Lynn Griffin. She's amazing. I recently saw a picture with John Kipley getting a chance to meet her. I met her back at Horror Hound Columbus 2017 and 16 or 17. And we had made a wrapped head, that a mannequin head wrapped up tight like it was in the film.
Oh,
she
really?
Signed it. She put the wrap around her head, took a picture with it. Phenomenal woman and one of the great all-time deaths because she sits there through the entire film and she's in that window. Oh, it's terrifying. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. She was in Chicago a couple weeks ago. I was supposed to see her. I ended up having a headache and missed it. But seeing those pictures and what she did, I mean, I love the fact that she was game to do that. Those photos look great. And yeah, it looked like an amazing event. She was there for Black Christmas and curtains at Bassett's.
Yeah, and my runner up was going to be Silent Night, Deadly Night, only the first one, because part two is probably 80% the first one, but I thought all the other ones were just not even worth it. But the original, kind of like what you said, Katie, I mean, the kid sees his parents get murdered and right in front of him, and by some drunk Santa Claus or whatever, and looks like he's about to. The only thing that would have been worse, I mean, it looked like he was about to, kill his mom and then do some other stuff too. I mean, that would have been. I mean, that's going to be messed up enough. But then those nuns and those asshole kids that he's in that home with, man. I mean, that's like the perfect storm to create a serial killer right there. The other thing, I think it's kind of corny, but they said the whole naughty every time he kills somebody, naughty. I thought that was kind of funny, but well, and then the dude worked at he worked at a toy store, man. I mean, when I was a kid, I always wanted, man, I want to grow up and work in a toy store. That would be awesome. Not realizing that you grow up and you don't want to play with toys anymore that much, but I don't know. I still to this day go up and down the toy aisle once in a while. Can't tell me you don't do that, Jay. Just to see.
Oh God, I miss
to see the kind of toys that all these brats nowadays. Like, man, we didn't have anything cool like that.
You know what? Oz, I have a question for you, but one other one I think people tend to forget, and it's actually celebrating 20 years this year, is Dead End with Ray Wise and Lynn Shay.
Ooh, yeah.
That is a great one about the trip on Christmas Eve. It is a great film. Yeah. I watched it when FearNet was a thing a long, long time ago. One of the brilliant ones. But Oz, question for you, because you're more of the traditionalist when it comes to horror out of the group. Is there any modern Christmas horror films that you like?
Modern? Well, I mean, I really liked what was the one we did the episode with David Harbour last year? I thought that one.
Violent Night.
Yes.
Violent Night. Yeah,
Violent Night. I loved it. I thought it was
a lot of fun.
I love the fact that Santa was a freaking drunk and he's pissing out of the sleigh as they're flying around. I mean, it was
pukes. Yeah,
he's puking and then he's cussing out his reindeer because they're pissing him off.
Not cool. Not professional.
I thought that was hysterical. The Black Christmas remake, I thought had potential, but then they got really weird with it, man, with the whole mom having a kid with her son and that
incest angle. Yeah,
that was
whoa. Stop talking about Scream 7. Stop, okay?
But what they did do that I like was I loved the shot when they go through the keyhole and his eyes. I mean, that was great. I mean, there were some really, really good things, really good aspects of the Black Christmas remake. But yeah, the whole incest thing, that just really, I mean, that's why I won't watch it anymore. It's just too much. I mean, and I know they were probably doing it for the shock factor, but I don't know, man. It's just not something I want to see. I mean, it's just weird.
Well, I mean, I feel like anything after 93, you have to go into the whole psychoanalysis of the killer to figure out what his motive is. Like, why is he doing this? What was the trigger? What was all these things going on? And it's like, just go with go back to the original Black Christmas. Just go that it's who knows how this person got in the attic. That's the scary part. How it's like when a stranger calls and the person is in the house calling with the kids in the room, and the kids have been like torn apart, and they have to say, they talk about how they had to have like 6 trash bags to like get all the pieces off and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff you don't need to see it. You just need to hear that. And I wish I actually like films that do that more. It's like, because the brain is an articulate, a freaky puzzle that people's brains will make stuff up way scarier than a number of stuff that can be seen. And I wish they, I wish a lot of films did that more, where they made people just think of like they don't even see show it, but it's like it's probably going to be worse in your head than what they could have shown.
Well, and sometimes the way, if they do it the right way, they don't have to show it, but you think you saw it, but you really didn't. Like a lot of like, there's really not that much blood in the original Halloween. But
No, there's not.
But you think you saw it.
But I will say this, and I think, Katie, you're right on the nose with 93, the early 90s. Everything before that, the only thing you need to know about all these killers is horny teenagers. Teenagers. That's what is caused Michael Myers, that's caused Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, all of it. Go across the board. Leatherface, you had a bunch of horny people in the van coming in. I mean, come on.
Well, really, I mean, really, you don't. The horny part's not necessary. Just
Night of the Demons.
Is there a teenager that's not horny? I mean, that's just kind of a thing.
Right? I'm not a teenager anymore, so I wouldn't know.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's also,
I've never met a teenager that wasn't horny.
93, like 80 to 93. You also have that person who's like, let me tell you a story of what happened and all that stuff. So it's not, you're not seeing the actual person. Like you've got this, the folklore of like, here's the legend of this person and that person and all that stuff.
Yeah,
and it's
like the old man in the town who's doing all the backstory for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The exposition dump. I love that. Yeah.
Because they did that Nightmare on Elm Street with what's her name's mom. She's the one who
that's right. Drinking and talking.
And also she must have had some kind of pull in it too. It's like, yeah, because I got to keep the glove. It's like, wait, how did you get to keep the glove? Like, weren't there a number of parents and you got to keep it? Like,
because she was married to the cop, probably.
She was married to the sheriff at the time. So it's like, here, honey,
where's the evidence?
John Saxon, he would just kick the shit out of whoever said that they wanted to keep it.
True.
Well, I will say this, folks, the second part of the episode was way more interesting than our first part on It's a Wonderful Night. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, folks, and enjoy the holiday horror. See you in the
However anybody out there who's listening, however you celebrate your new year and your holidays, hope you have a safe and wonderful holiday season, and be good human beings out there. Be nice.
Keep caring, keep sharing, keep scaring, and we'll see you in 2024.
Yes, we will. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Bye.